Hello.
Hey, it's Sullivan.
Hi, it's Jeanine. Thanks again for doing this.
Oh, of course. Thanks for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, good. Can you please introduce yourself and tell me a fun fact about you?
Hi, I'm Sullivan, and I sing and play guitar for Midnight Skies. A fun fact about me, shoot. Obviously I love music, um, but something like outside of music, I've always been like a huge baseball fan. Unfortunately, I am a Seattle Mariners fan, which is really unfortunate because they're absolutely terrible and haven't been to a playoff game in like almost 20 years. So that's, I guess, a fun fact about me that some people don't know. I'm just a baseball nerd.
I wish my PR director was here. She knows so much about baseball. I don't.
It's definitely a sport that some people just can never get into, but it is fun.
So you mentioned you play guitar. Can you tell me how you picked that as your instrument?
Yeah, so actually, I started when I was very young. And when I started, I just kind of was thrown into kind of like a church-like setting where everybody that I was around just played instruments. And so I was kind of like, oh, that's cool. Well, can I learn? And they're like, yeah, for sure. And so I just kind of picked up a guitar. I picked up drums. I play quite a few different instruments, but guitar was always just like my favorite instrument of choice, I guess you could say. Um, and so, yeah, that's just kind of how my path to being a musician started.
I love asking this question because I kind of feel like the instrument chooses the person, not necessarily the person chooses the instrument.
Yeah, it's just one of those things you just kind of are more drawn to it. It just like kind of calls to you. And I have always loved drums too, but there was just something special with guitar that I didn't get with any other instrument.
So we're going to start by learning a little bit more about you. Can you please tell me what music you're currently listening to?
Oh man, I'm listening to so much music. Right now, I'm really, really liking bands like Neck Deep. I'm really into Hot Milk. I don't know if you've heard of them, but I believe they're from the UK, but they're just freaking phenomenal, and I think they're unsigned as well. Um, but I love their music. Stan Atlantic's great. Um, let's see what else I got here because I've been listening to a lot lately, especially being quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
Man Overboard just dropped a new song, which is pretty cool. Um, Say We Can Fly just dropped a new song, and he's on We Are Triumphant as well, which is really cool. Um, the new All Time Low record is so, so good. I'm loving their new stuff. Um, so yeah, that's kind of what I've been listening to recently.
Um, what is your favorite album in your personal collection?
Ugh. Um, that's a hard one. But if I were to say like only one, shoot. Um, Honestly, Collide with the Sky by Pierce Vale is one of my like all-time favorite albums that I currently like have on vinyl and on CD. Um, I know people like just don't collect those things anymore. It's sad, but yeah, I love that record. It's just so good from front to back. Love every song. Love that band. Um, yeah, that would have to be my favorite for sure.
I love how you said you collect vinyl. I kind of feel like vinyl has been giving having this big uptick because of Spotify streaming culture.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely seeing more people getting into vinyl. It's sad because I was always a CD collector, and people always thought that was super weird. They're like, dude, I just bought it off iTunes, bro. I'm like, yeah, but physical copies are cool. Like, what are you doing?
I agree. It's definitely nice to have a physical copy because it's like it's a tangible thing. Like you just form a connection with this album and it's
Yeah, there's just something special about having a physical copy of things. I'm the same with games as well, but and movies for that matter. But CDs and vinyl are just super special and super cool.
This connects to my next question. What is your opinion of streaming services like Spotify?
I think that, for the time we're in, it is what it is. I unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but I I don't know. I just kind of think that it sucks that musicians don't get paid like at all. And I think that's a common thread with a lot of other musicians and a lot of people that do stream music don't realize truly how little music like musicians make off their music. And um, so I have like a little beef with the streaming platforms for how they handle that. But other than that, I think that streaming can be really beneficial to a lot of artists just because you can have it so accessible to so many people.
I definitely agree. I feel like it's great for exposure, but I know it sucks in the pay area.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely like one of those things where it's a catch 22.
Mm-hmm.
You like it, you don't. It's just kind of where we're at with music.
Mm-hmm.
But I am happy that there's a lot of avenues, especially with Spotify, to get it out there and get it on big playlists and, have even smaller playlists that, other people are making that aren't huge that, they still put it, your song out there and that's an extra 10 people that have never heard you. And I think that that's really special and really cool. And I think it's like I said, unfortunate that we don't get paid very much from Spotify and streaming platforms. But in the end of the day, musicians don't do it for the money. We do it because we love music. And so it is what it is. We just kind of have to accept that, that's just kind of how streaming works right now.
If you could change one thing about the music industry as it is today, what would it be and why?
Hmm. I have to think about this one for a second. Um, I think that there's a lot of like elitism and like people that I don't know, they're in small bands and then they're in big bands and then they just treat everyone really poorly and they seem to forget like where they came from. And I've noticed that a lot with a lot of people and a lot of bands where you're like, man, you guys were super cool and then all of a sudden like you're just not. I wish that like bands could change that kind of culture that like, oh, you're not cool enough to be with us. Like, yeah, your band's cool, but like you're not signed to Fearless or you're not signed to Sony or you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like there's a real stigma there and I wish that that would change because I mean, I'm not obviously in a big band, but I don't know. I've never once felt like a smaller musician isn't cool enough to hang. That oh we can't have them on a bill or we can't do anything with those guys because oh well they're too small or they're just not cool enough. Like I don't know, I just don't get that sort of elitism that I see in a lot of different genres within the scene. Um, we've specifically had that happen a lot in Seattle where we were always kind of like that outed pop punk band that people liked, but I don't know. There was just really, really frustrating because it was like we just wanted to get along with everyone, but they just couldn't hang, and we're like, okay, whatever.
Oh no. Can you tell me a little bit more about the scene in Seattle? We'll get to why I'm asking this question right after.
um, shoot, Seattle normally is a great scene. I mean, obviously, Midnight Skies just started in 2018, and when we started in 2018, we didn't really play any shows until actually this year. We were just kind of gathering music, recording music, and getting show ready, I guess you could say. And but we were in bands, prior to Midnight Skies, and um, when we were in prior bands, like the scene was pretty cool for the most part. Besides, like I said, like there was some kind of like elitism, like oh we're too cool for you kind of thing. But right now, it's been cool because I've been to a few local shows and we played obviously our first show as Midnight Skies in was it I think it was February. Um, ever since I've been quarantined, my days are like blending into the next, and I don't even know what day it is half the time. Um, anyways, but it's cool to see. I feel like the scene's kind of opening up a little bit. Um, it was kind of starting to die down a little bit towards the end of, I would say, 2017, where there just wasn't people interested. Like people would go to shows, but it like even big shows, you would just see the draw was not there. But in recent months, going to local shows, they're packed and there's a ton of people there, and people are just super supportive, and it's really cool to see. So right now, the scene is good, but obviously this pandemic has ruined kind of like the good streak we were on.
I asked this question because I'm from Staten Island, New York, and there is no scene here, which is very sad. And it's even more upsetting.
Really, there's not at all.
No, we have a lot of cover bands. We only have like one venue that will let bands play. It's a pretty sad time, and
Dang,
it's very
that's too bad.
upsetting because School of Rock was filmed at my school, and
That's so cool. It's just one of those things. It's crazy though. Like we and other bands toured all over the country, and some of the smallest like towns and places that didn't have like an actual scene that was like hyped and like I don't know, packed with bands all the time. Like some of those cities and some of those towns were the best places to play. So maybe you guys can all like get together and like work on like figuring out how to book shows out there, because what I've noticed from touring is like smaller towns or just areas that don't really have a lot of music, when you start promoting other bands coming there, like all of a sudden it just explodes in a good way.
that's pretty interesting. Actually, no one's told me that before, and that's really good to know. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
I mean, like, I'm sure there's like a ton of kids, high school kids, college kids, like that's kind of what happened in the small town that I grew up in. Like there was never music, like for the most part. There's like a few bands that, kind of branched out from there, but they had, local shows and stuff in the area, which we did like one or two, and it was honestly a lot of fun. And you kind of surprise yourself by the people that come out. But yeah, I would definitely look into it because it's definitely something that I've seen as a trend. Anytime we tour, we'll play just like if we're going through Oregon, like we won't play like we'll play Portland and stuff, but like we'll go and play somewhere in Southern Oregon, like in a town that nobody's heard of, and there'll be like 50, 60 kids that come out.
Oh wow.
And it might not seem like a lot to a lot of people, but like for a small town or just like, in general, playing a show in just a random place to see like 60 people come out, that's pretty cool and something special that you don't see every day.
Speaking of your music, I would like to know if you can describe your sound for me in 3 words.
3 words. Um, Energetic, fun. I don't know. And it kind of has like with some songs, I kind of feel like it has like a almost like an eeriness to like Dizzy Spells. Like after we had heard Dizzy Spells for the first time, I was like, wow, this like it's got like this eeriness to it. It makes you feel like kind of unsettled, or at least it did for me. Um, and it's completely different than like if you listen to Falling Apart or any of the other songs that are more upbeat and positive. But I think there's kind of like a darker undertone that I feel like has been infused with some of the songs. I mean, they're obviously like Dizzy Spells is about depression, and so I guess that kind of makes sense that there's like a darkness to it, I guess. But I would definitely say like energetic, fun, and there's like some kind of I don't know. I think eeriness is maybe not the right word for it. Maybe you can help me find something else. But like, do you know what I mean?
No,
Like,
I think I get
there's
it.
there's like a just a dark undertone to some of the songs
It's
that
like
we
this
have.
seriousness that's
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
there's like a seriousness to it for sure. But yeah, I think that we've tried to like find a good happy medium where we can have like fun sounding songs and energetic, but also serious and like portray things that are dark and kind of bring them to light, I guess you could say. That's always kind of been our mission is to, talk about things that people don't want to talk about and kind of bring them to light and, make other people that listen to our music realize that they're not alone in it. I think that a lot of listeners might listen to, a song and be like, man, this band, like their lyrics, it makes sense. Like I get it, but they probably don't even have depression or they don't even know what I'm dealing with suicide or something like that. And I feel like with our band, we've always been wanting to, I don't know, just like make sure that the listener knows that they're not alone in their dark times and their heavy mindsets. And I think that that's, like I said, something that we try to portray in some of our songs, as well as happy, energetic, fun type sounding songs.
So you kind of hit the nail on the head on why I reach out to the artists I reach out to. I focus a lot on this connectivity and relatability factor. And
Oh, okay, yeah, that's really cool.
listening to the EP, I feel like there was like at least for me an overarching type of story that was just told through different lenses, and I thought it was just pleasant to hear the different parts put together in a way that was slightly different than what I'm used to, and kind of made me stop and think and be like, oh, this is something different, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, it's always super weird. I mean, with our music, we don't, at least to me, I can't like listen to our music and be like, oh yeah, we sound like a knockoff of this band, or oh, you sound just like this band, like to a T, like your vocals sound like this. Like one thing that we've always tried to do with our music is not sound just like some other radio band, not to sound just like some other band that just hit the market that's blowing up. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we take influences obviously, but for the most part, like it's always interesting hearing people say that like, oh, it's different. Like I like it. It made me like stop and be like, wow, this is different than I'm used to, or um, at least something like that. I think that's really cool, and I like that authenticity and in sound and lyrical content. One thing that one of our producers had said a while back was like, "Oh my God, like those lyrics, those are so you. I wouldn't have ever written something like that. That's just something you would write." And it's that kind of stuck with me. It's like, huh, I must like write a certain way, and people notice that. It's kind of weird.
So speaking of writing songs, what's your favorite part of a song that you've written?
Just in general, the song "Dizzy Spells" like has kind of like I don't know, it means a lot to me personally. I was able to, in that time when I was writing that song, I pretty much wrote everything from guitars to lyrics to bass to drums to pretty much everything on that song. I mean, obviously, my band plays a huge role in writing and recording as well. But that song, like, I just kind of hunkered down and just, I was in my basement alone and just kind of started working on it. And when it came out, I was really proud of it because a lot of the times, like I said, I do have, the bandmates that really do a lot. They do their part, like their drums, they create, a bridge, or they'll help with the chorus, or they'll do a verse, or, they'll write a whole guitar part and that'll be their contribution. But with this one, it kind of felt like my own creation, so to speak. And so I don't know if I could pick one part, but just that song in general, I'm pretty pretty excited on.
I love that. So my next question is one that our PR director Grace came up with. I'm going to be honest, it is somewhat of a difficult question, but we ask it because we want to try to start a conversation about this topic. And the question is, what is your opinion of releasing an artist's unreleased music after they've passed away? Should it be released or should it not?
I think it completely depends on the artist. I think when people are using it for their own gain, like I think if it's something um, like their family is releasing it and they know for sure that whoever it was and their family that did music would want it out, like I think in a situation like that, if the family releases it and it's just because they know that the fans would love it and that the artist would have loved to have released it, I think that that's fine. But I do see like there's situations where a label releases unreleased stuff without even contacting the family, without even like really caring about how they would feel about that and just use it for personal gain and money. And you see that a lot in this scene. Um, I mean, obviously, we've had some really tragic deaths with like Lil Peep and Mac Miller and people like that, and it's really sad to see. But I really don't know their stories that well, so I couldn't really like make a guess as to what they would want, but I would imagine they would want any unreleased music out just because they were on top of their game and they loved music so much and their fans. But yeah, if I were to answer that question very quickly, I would just say that I think it just depends on the person and the situation.
So we asked this question because of the Little Peep songs that were released. Grace mentioned that they kind of sounded like unfinished bedroom demos, and
Uh
then
huh.
later on, Mac Miller's Circles came out, and
Yeah.
we know, like as a fan, you always want to hear more music, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the artists have been happy, and it's a pretty tough question. So we want to bring this up to talk about concept of artist wills or even just negotiating this into a contract.
Obviously, as a fan, you go, man, I really, really, really wish that they had more music that I could listen to and it'd make me feel better, knowing that they went out and they left something for everyone. And I think that that's really cool. It's a cool legacy, but sometimes it's like they release what they did in their time, and you should just remember what they created, the masterpieces they created when they were there. So I see two sides of the coin.
Yeah, it kind of can go either way. It's a as I said, it's a tough question because there's so many different moving parts to it, and there's so much that is up in the air with this. Since it's kind of, I feel like just being featured more prominently now than in the past.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely becoming more, I don't know, it's just happening more often, which is really sad. And I think it's just the state of our world. And the music scene can be very, very harsh. And it turns a lot of people to drugs and, heavy drinking. And it's really, really sad because the stigma for it is just like, it's normal. Like everybody does it. And then people die. And then you're like, oh, wait, how'd that happen? Like, it's just crazy. It's really sad to see, especially people that are so young. Like, I'm 25 and I'm like, man, I'm lucky. Like, there's so many musicians that die at 20, that die at 17, 18 years old, and it's just really sad to see in general, no matter the age, but especially when drug abuse and all that is involved. It's super sad to see. And it's sad to see the scene promote it in such a positive way.
I'm going to be 100% honest. No one's ever told me this part before, so this is refreshing on my end, and I do definitely think that has to be discussed more often.
Really, people don't talk about just like the darkness in the scene at all. Like it's just all
No,
daisies and roses and
I guess
champagne.
so. I don't know. People, I guess, just gloss over it.
I think that that's also why like a lot of people ask me, they're like, dude, you should just move down to LA. Like LA's so cool down there and there's like so many connections. And I'm like, dude, I do not want to live in LA. Anytime I'm in LA, I feel so depressed. Like I get off that plane at LAX and I want to go home. Literally. It's so funny because so many musicians are like, dude, LA, that's where I want to be. I want to live there. I want to live on the beach. I want to be where all the famous people are. I'm like, nah, I'll just stay out here in Seattle. I'm good.
What is your favorite state that you've been to?
Ooh, favorite state. Um, kind of a tough one. Um, Texas was pretty cool. I do like Texas. Um, Florida was pretty cool. But if I were to pick just one, I'd probably just have to pick Texas. Texas is just so cool down there. I enjoy it, and everything's so cheap. I love it.
I love asking this. I've never left the East Coast. So,
Oh man, you need to
I know.
travel. It's once this pandemic ends, you have to travel. It's well worth it. I've been all over the world, and I can honestly tell you that it is worth every penny you spend, and you have memories for a lifetime. Oh man, I'm hoping this thing ends soon because I've been in quarantine for about a month now. I currently live in a city where like the first
Mm-hmm.
like infected person in the States, like it started all here. Like it I mean obviously it started in Wuhan, but the first infected was in the town that I live in currently, and it's gotten really, really bad. I know it's nowhere near as bad as New York right now, though, which is so sad. I keep looking at New York. I'm like, oh man, so many people.
Better soon.
Oh, me too. I keep hearing people talking about music won't be back till like, or shows in general won't be back till next year. And I'm like, oh no.
I feel like everyone's gonna start touring at the same time, so then it's kind of like, what do you do? Like, where do you go?
Yep, we'll just be going to shows like every week, all day long.
I feel like it's gonna be so complicated because I just don't know how the venues are gonna be able to figure that out at the same time. Like, I know there aren't like well,
There's,
there's a lot, but
I think this is the best time for Warped Tour to come back. I'm telling you.
I would love for that to actually be a thing. I feel like those festivals should definitely be making a huge comeback. It's gonna be the best way for everyone to like see who they want to see and
Yeah, I mean, it would be probably best case scenario because it's like you think about how many bands, like you're saying, are gonna just hop back on the road immediately when it's like, all the lockdowns are lifted and people are feeling up to going to shows and we don't have to social distance. Like, they're just gonna go crazy. They're like, okay, yep, we're all coming at the same time. You might as well just have a big tour. Just bring it back. Just do it. Come on, Kevin.
so my next question for you is definitely not related to what I just asked. And the question is it was asked at our freshman orientation, and we ask everyone that we've spoken to if you can be any item in the kitchen, what would you be and why?
Any item in the kitchen? Man, I might have to think about this for a second. I will go with a knife. Why not?
Okay, tell
Like,
me why.
I don't know. It can be useful. You can cut up all your veggies. It can cut up meat. It can be useful for many different things.
So hard.
Yeah, I'm not exactly a good on the fly kind of person. I wish my guitar player was in on this because I'm sure he would have such a funny answer to all random questions like that. Like he is so quick to think of something funny and witty, and I'm just like, hmm. I'm just way too deep of a thinker. What would I be if I were some kind of utensil or item in a kitchen? Like the possibilities are endless.
But I love hearing the thoughtful answers. I feel like it definitely showcases who people are and allows listeners and fans and soon to be fans to know more about the band they're listening to, and it
Oh,
helps
for
in that
sure.
way.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's just like a way for them to connect and understand the musicians a lot better. And thank you for having me on, by the way. It's been really fun.
Of course. What musician inspires you to be a better musician?
What musician? Definitely Haley Williams of Paramore. I've always been a huge Paramore fan. Paramore was definitely like the band that got me into music. They were one of my first shows I ever went to, and ever since I saw them play, I was just like, I want to do that. So Haley Williams is just like one of those people to me that just always has tried new things and like experimented like with her new music that she's doing now. It's like not everybody's cup of tea, but I love just hearing and watching a musician evolve and change and kind of just like press the boundaries a little bit. And she definitely does that. And it definitely makes you as a musician want to try new things and be open to trying new things, even if it's not something that is comfortable at first. With our old band, we were just straight pop punk, like just old school pop punk. And when we did Midnight Skies, like we kind of had like this shift where it's like we wanted to do pop punk, but we wanted to try something kind of fresh and new. And so we started like implementing pop and like beats and stuff like that we had never done before. Just more production and more, like testing just the waters, I guess you could say, and seeing what we could do with it. And I think that that's something we're very proud of on Disconnect. It's just kind of one of those things. A lot of people probably listen to it and are like, "Wow, this is like kind of sporadic." But I've also heard a lot of people that listen to the album. They're like, "This just fits so well. I don't know how you guys managed to have like a ballad and then kind of like a trap type song and then like really ultra pop punk and like what we call like new wave pop punk sound." And I don't know. It's fun to just kind of explore new sides of yourself in music. And yeah, we're just really excited with how that kind of turned out with Disconnect.
I feel like that makes you more dynamic in a sense because you're not just staying within the confines of one genre, you're branching out to so many different areas, which is incredible because I like to say like genres don't exist anymore. I think it's more so that there's this versatility which
Hmm.
makes it so appealing to a listener. So, thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I know that like years ago, like if you were in a band and you wanted to make it, you had one sound. There was no leaving that sound, especially on an album or even an EP. You're just like, maybe with a single, you could kind of like release something kind of out there, but then the rest of whatever you drop later is cohesive, like to a T. It's just like the same sound.
Mm-hmm.
But now you listen to what's on the radio and like you got people that are doing like rap, but then they're also like implementing punk rock into their music now. And you got like the SoundCloud rappers that are bringing like the emo sound back and kind of throwing that into rap music now. So it's kind of cool to see how genres are bending and people are kind of just doing what they want. Oh, it's just one song, or hey, it's three songs that we're just gonna go nuts. We're just gonna see what it sounds like and we'll drop it for the fans and see what they think. And if they like it, cool. If not, well, we tried. We just had fun with it. And I think that that's what we need in this scene right now. We need more people, more bands, artists that are just daring enough to bend the rules and just try something new. Shoot, if you want to, be a punk rock band, be a punk rock band. If you want to drop a country song, do it. Just, make it you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's something that's super special that we've never, at least that I haven't seen in a while, at least in this industry.
I definitely agree. Again, I'm just on the receiving end of music. I kind of just listen to it out what's out there and find bands I love through different genres, not just genres. I mean like different pathways because it's limitless now.
Yeah.
And it's great to find people that can form connections with anyone just based on the music that they're putting out since it's gonna I'm gonna sound super corny. It's gonna strike a chord with so many, and that's
Hmm.
a great thing to have. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how you also just build a very diverse, like fan base too.
mhm.
Like, there's just so many cool musicians that are going out of their way to try new things, and they're ending up with a very diverse fan base. And I think it's special. I think that's really cool, and I hope to see that trend continue.
so my next question for you is, what do you do when you're not writing music?
Honestly, I just play a lot of video games. I have been studying for my real estate license actually out in Washington because my dad's been doing it for about 20 plus years, and he was like, hey, you already work for me. Why don't you just go and get your license and give it a shot? So that's kind of what I've been doing the past 6 months. I've just been going through training and through all the hoops you have to jump through to do that. So that's kind of been one of my focuses besides music lately. But on any other given day, for the most part, I love hanging out and just playing games, or I don't know. I love nature too, so going out in nature is always super special to me. Being in the Pacific Northwest, you definitely have a lot of opportunities to get out into nature, and I definitely think that it's very healing and a positive thing to be connected with nature and actually just go out and just meditate or just go for a walk and enjoy what we have because it is beautiful. We live in a beautiful place. I think that there's a lot of negativity a lot, but just go out in nature, go on a hike, go on a walk. You'll notice that life is honestly amazing and we live in a beautiful place.
It's that nice break from the hecticness of life, I feel like.
Oh, yeah, exactly. It's that, disconnect from from all the BS in the world for sure.
Okay, so my next question for you is you're hypothetically in the van going on a tour.
Okay.
What are three songs that must be in the playlist?
Oh, I know Kyle is going to be listening to this, my guitar player, so I have to say, um, for sure, we're gonna have to play something from Michael Jackson. It's gonna be probably, hang on, what is the song? I'm I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking it up. Let's see. Speed Demon. I remember listening to a lot on tour. And a joke song, which he would say is totally not a joke song, would be Excite Bike by Emergency 911. It is so old and it is so just, I can't even explain it. You're just gonna have to listen to it and you'll just laugh. Um, and a serious one, if I have to pick three, um, shoot. There's another one I really like that we listen to a lot. Let's see. All right, it's for sure got to be "Death of a Bachelor." Anything off that album is just beautiful, but that song is fun. And yeah, that would be my three.
What's your favorite venue that you've performed in?
Ooh, we played at Webster in New York. Is that technically Manhattan?
It is
Yeah,
Manhattan.
that yeah, that venue was so cool. I had never been to New York City before, so going there and playing in New York was super special. So I definitely have to say that venue was pretty cool.
And my next question for you is do you guys have any pre show rituals or superstitions?
Not really. I just do my normal like vocal warm-ups. We maybe like dance around a little bit. That's about it. We're not too wild with it. The before hopping on stage like feeling that you get, there's like so much excitement and so much build up, especially if you're not like a band that tours 24/7. I feel like when you get that opportunity to go on stage, it's always something that you don't take for granted because you never know when you're going to get back on stage. It's always a privilege to play in front of anywhere from, five kids to 1,000. You just you get some special kind of feeling when you get to hop on stage, and the before feeling you get is just there's nothing like it.
So what I want you to do next for me is create a bill with you guys and three other bands.
Okay, that would definitely have to be All Time Low. Definitely would have to be Paramore. And shoot, third band. I'm just gonna go with Pierce the Veil. I
Love
have
it.
to play with all those bands. At one point, I have to. I will be a happy musician if I get to play with those. If it never happens, it never happens. That's cool. But if I could play with those three, I would be very, very appreciative.
Now, my last question for you is what are your goals for the new decade of 2020? And by 2020, I mean like 2020 to 2030.
Um, Honestly, I just want to keep creating music. I want to tour, and I just want to see where Midnight Skies takes us, and I want to be able to hang out with everyone that listens to our music and comes out to shows, and I just want to leave behind something really cool. And I don't think I'll ever not be involved like in the music scene. I'll always be involved in some way, shape, or form. Even if I'm not in a band, I've always just wanted to kind of always keep my toes dipped in. Like I always want to stay involved in some way. Um, but the next 10 years, I would definitely like to just keep making music and keep touring, and yeah, that's my goal.
So that question used to be what is the goal for 2020, but 2020 is kind of like canceled. So we had to modify it a little bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, even this year, it's just like it's more writing. We've had a couple other interviews and people asking about kind of what the next thing is for us and what we've been up to and what we can be doing currently. And really, it's just like, hey, you're at home, right? Be creating in some way, shape, or form. Live stream a show or hop on a computer and plug your interface in and start recording something, or just be active and continue talking with fans and creating content. And such a dark time like now, people need um, you know music, and they need entertainment more than ever. I feel like everybody is just, they're all locked up. We're all just stuck in this negative cycle, it feels like, together. But um, yeah, for us, we're just trying to write as much as possible and just connect with everyone. Because I think in times like this, we really just need to connect with one another.
I definitely agree. And I know the music industry has definitely been hit hard by everything that's been going on. And
Yes, for sure.
it's, I feel like word of mouth was definitely this huge thing.
That's what I tell people. It's like, hey, like, you might not be able to buy something from, our band. Like, you might not be able to buy merch, but you could repost our music on your Facebook or your Twitter or your Instagram and just tag the band and tell people to check it out. Like, that is one of the other biggest things people can do. And I feel like a lot of people don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, oh yeah, well, I'll like it and I'll keep active with them, but I won't repost it. And it's like, that's how bands grow. That's,
Mm-hmm.
how you can be super supportive, even if you can't support us financially. It's just, that's a huge thank you to us that, you would even consider reposting or talking about us on your social media. So yeah, word of mouth is huge for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think that it means more to someone when you're telling them, hey, I know this is your music taste and I know you would love this band, or like you would love this song by this band and you should check them out. I think it holds more weight and people don't do that as much anymore. Music's this connectivity thing. It's getting people through quarantine. It's causing people to have conversations with people they've maybe never met before just because they all love the same music and the same artists.
Yeah, music brings people together. I mean, a lot of people don't realize, just like when you go to shows, like those are your brothers and sisters. Like those are people that are there for the same reason. And that's special. Like that's not something that you get to experience all the time. So like those are the people to talk to. Like half of my friends I met when I was 16, 17 going to shows, and I'm still friends with them to this day. And I mean, shoot, I met my now wife at a show. So it's like you can meet amazing people at a show and you can really connect with them. And yeah, music totally brings people together. It's cool.
That's amazing. And I want to thank you again for chatting with me. I had a great time and I
Oh, of
really do
course.
appreciate it.
No, thank you so much for having me on. I had a blast.
Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey, you as well. Stay safe.
You too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.